Hello again. It's halfway, a little more than halfway through the day on Saturday, October 25th. I said I'd be back tonight, but I wanted to take a break from editing, which is going mostly well. A few continuity issues here and there, to show you my workflow, just in case any of you are editing, particularly on Davinci Resolve Studio 20, which as I mentioned, I think I recently purchased. I don't think I purchased it, I know, but I may have mentioned it. I've been using the free version for 5+ years. Really enjoyed it. There's a few little quirks. Sometimes it does weird things, but I'd say overall it is, should I say superior? Overall, I would say I'm still learning Fusion for sure. Anyways, I'm getting off into the weeds. I wanted to show my workflow a little bit. And I may have mentioned this before, but I wanted to show it a little bit more in depth now that I've been actually doing some editing. I went on YouTube and I looked for Davinci Resolve workflow for feature film editing, and I don't think I found anything. And I know people are editing, so maybe this will get a million zillion views because people are interested in how to do it. Not that this is the only way. And this is a very simple film in the grand scheme of things in terms of there's not a zillion angles and there's all the special effects and all that. So the edit is really, as it should be in my mind, is about doing as little as you can. Steven Spielberg once said, every time you make a cut, you cheat the audience, which when you think about it is 100% correct, because something has happened when that camera is cut. Even if you've got 5 cameras filming, something is changing. So I'll show you what I've been doing. I've been making infinite numbers of myself. No, so again, I don't want to give away too much of the movie here. Let's just, we got a nice blank screen there. So what I've been doing is I sort of predetermined by looking through the script, which I have right here. Good old paper script. I could have done this on the computer version, but it's much more fun to hear that. That's the sound of paging through the script. So what I've been doing, I mean, I could put the whole thing in one timeline, but that seems like a recipe for potential disaster. So what I've been doing is I go through the script and I pick out, for instance, scene 1 and scene 2 sort of go together, and then scene, 3 through 8 go together. And so what I do, you can see like right now I'm working on scene 74 to 77, and they're all, this isn't cut and dried, and certainly you could do it a lot of other ways, but I'm sort of doing a sequence, if you will. Would that be correct? I guess a sequence could be a number of scenes put together. So in this case, I've got 74 through 76. Oh, I'm still finding 77. Hope I have it. And so these are the B-raw files. These are the WAV files. So what I've been doing, and I think I mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. If you bring in, so I've got all of the video or film, let's call it film, even though it's not, video files in a folder under the date that we shot it, all numbered. I got some that don't have numbers, unfortunately, but that's all right. And then I've got in that same folder, in the subfolder, you can see I've got the audio files. And so this is just inside. What does subfolder mean? Oh, I've got some hidden files there. So these should be identical other than MOS. So anyways, these are pretty much the same as these. These are the WAV files. So what I do is I bring in the WAV file first, and then I right click and I go to clip attributes. I've already done it here, but I leave this at stereo, and the default is 1 and 2, and I change it both to 1, which I don't know. This is all dialogue, so I don't think it's a big deal. I can always pan it later. So I do that first, and then I go to the video files and I bring those in, which I've already done. And as soon as I bring those in, you could do it 2 ways. I bring them in and then I create the proxy. So like these are the 3 files I've just brought in, and I've already done the proxies, but you right click and you say generate No, you say relink. No, I've already made the proxy. So that's why it won't come up. But down here it says proxy media, and you go over here to generate, and you generate it. So I do that, and then what I do before, and this is before I do any editing on the scene, I go up to here, and again, you could do this a lot of different ways, and I just do this because it's the most efficient way to do it. So I go down here by hitting the down arrow. I hit shift down arrow, and then I do Control Alt S for sync, and then you've got waveform, you've got time code, and all these other ones. Obviously, waveform is the easiest. That's the way we do it with a clapboard or a slate, whatever you want to call it. And then you can just hit sync. Now, the nice thing is, instead of using the mouse and taking your hands off the keyboard, you can just hit down arrow once, shift, down arrow, highlight, Control Alt S, enter key, down again, boom, boom. And now if you see any that don't sync, it'll give you a message. And I have found that Resolve isn't super, I guess you would say, sensitive maybe, because it does miss, it can't find sync in some of the scenes that we shot outside in particular. And for some, I don't blame it, because the slate was quite a far away from the microphone, or vice versa. Say like right there, it couldn't find the sync. And so what I do there, I just sort of make a mental note. And then when I go back to look at this, and my guess is for take 2, it's going to do the same thing. Let's see. Yep, it can't find it. So that must be a scene that the microphone is not near enough the slate and or the camera, and so it can't hear the two. Or sometimes if there's 2 claps like sort of next to each other, it will not be able to identify which is which. I'm not sure why this scene and taker here. I think that's in the camera, and that must have gotten set at some point, although it's odd that it's just those few scenes. So anyways, let's see if I can do these. Nope, can't do that one. Or is these the ones I just tried to do? Maybe these are the ones I just tried to do. Oh, so I got that one. Interesting. So I do that, and then I come over to the edit panel. So you've got, it's giving away what's happening. So you've got all of these shots. I bring them into media, and then I go right to edit. I've got other shots, and you can see I've got a timeline down here from some previous scenes I've been editing. And so then I'll go up here and I'll say 74A1. And even though I'm not going to use this clip necessarily because there's a take 2 there, I'll go up here, I'll right click, create new timeline using selected clips, and then I'll say scenes 74 to 77, even though I don't have that in there. And then it makes a new timeline, and it'll put that on there, the first take. Again, I may not want to use that, so I'm just going to delete it for now. And then what I have been doing is I always start on the second take, and then I'll watch it through, see if I like it. Obviously, in this scene, we've got A angle, we've got a B angle, we got a C angle, we got a D angle. This is 4 angles is not a lot for a scene, but for this movie, there are scenes with 1, there are scenes with 2, 3, 4, and then there's a couple of hairy scenes, one of which I've edited, and a few of which I haven't, that have like 10, 11, 12 angles. So those are going to be fun. And when I say fun, not sure that I mean fun. So that is the editing workflow I've been using, and it's working pretty well. As I said, this is not, you don't have to be a master editor to edit this particular movie, but maybe you have to be a master filmmaker to come up with these great angles. I did have one I was editing earlier, and I realized we had one scene, and then the immediate following scene, which was kind of a continuation like 2 seconds later, and the framing was such that it would be the world's biggest jump cut. Fortunately, in the first scene, we had a over the shoulder shot, and so even though it was a little bit odd to stay on it, instead of going back to the master, I had to stay on it, because if I would have gone back to the master, I would have had that jump cut. And maybe someday after the movie's out, I'll make another video going more into depth, but I'm certainly not going to ruin the movie for you, because I know you're going to want to see it unblemished with having seen it in this YouTube series. So that is the workflow. Maybe I'll just make this into a separate video, and I'll leave the second part of what I was going to record this morning tonight, if that makes sense, and I'll leave this. So hopefully that's interesting. It's no great shakes. There's no magic formula, and you know, I'm not telling you anything about how to edit. Not that that is my place to. I'm just setting up the workflow, which works so far very well for me. It keeps it manageable, and it gives you, you know, an hour or two of editing, and then you've got a natural time to break, and then you can make a new bin, and so far so good. I will see you as the edit continues for Act Break.